Eh? It's
That's good. You committed to it, and it would have been typically you might have done it in an Italian accent, but
eh.
instead you were kind of Protestant.
It's
You were kind of marshmallow Protestant.
it's a me
You
with
were
the
North
pepperoni.
Carolina
Yeah.
marshmallow. Anyway, that's where we'll have
There,
to start. I got it.
there we are. Here we are. Wherever you go, there you are.
Wherever you go, there you are.
Indeed.
Be here now, not where you were, not where you're going, not where you've been.
That's so true. I never am where I've been.
You never are where you think.
Except when I return there.
Sure. That's for sure. Even when you return there, you're returning to a completely different place.
It's true.
We all know it.
Like
It's true.
No man ever sets foot in the same river.
No river ever drowns the same man twice.
That's so true. Like every time you step in a river, nor is the river the same, nor is the man.
And the river, just like man, is flowing downhill into what could be a cesspool or an ocean.
Well, aren't we all flowing downhill? That's amen to that.
If we weren't, how would we? Well, could we flow uphill? The answer is yes. If the water is powerful enough, it's a metaphor for God.
You need effort.
What do you think about it?
You need effort to go uphill. But
you need what?
You need effort. But like
effort.
Entropy will take you downhill.
Oh, so effort is one of the words in our what do you call it? Syncopat? What is it called?
Or what?
When the words sound like the
onomatopoeia.
Yes, our onomatopoeia dictionary.
Yes.
That is a word
effort.
for it.
Effort.
Lift.
Effort.
No. Lift.
Lift. Oh, I thought you meant effort. Okay. Well, cool. That works.
I hope we wrote those down. Then we put those on T-shirts.
Our T-shirt line is going amazingly.
Good.
Yeah, like the money is just rolling in. That's why I'm currently sitting down. Normally I'm standing, but my standing desk has sort of broken. Like it won't stand up anymore. And neither will I. God damn it, because I've had enough of standing. Like, yeah, exactly. So it's been forever, like
2 weeks.
Well, we missed 2 weeks, so it's been 3 weeks. I've been to Croatia and back, but you know
we've talked since Croatia.
No, not since this Croatia. Like that was last week. I was in Croatia.
Where were you the last time you told the story?
The last time I told you that I couldn't be here, I was in Alicante, Spain, probably. You know.
So anyway, how was that?
Mediterranean.
How was that?
It was great. It was so I was meeting the entire company that I've been working for 5 months. But I've been like chatting online with all these different people, and I never really knew them. But here we all got together. Like people flew in from San Francisco. It wasn't just Europe, so it was amazing to put 3D faces to names and to get to like. In a remote work environment, you generally talk about work when you're on a call. But we have this thing that like forces us to take like coffee break, donut break calls where we're encouraged like every month, maybe every 2 weeks, we're paired up with another person in the company randomly who has agreed to do this. And it's like, here's a 15-minute call where you're just supposed to like talk about non-work stuff, about life. And those are, it's kind of like doing a workout at the gym. Like every time when it's about time, it's like, I can't believe I have to do this. But every time after I'm done, I'm like, that was amazing. Like, we should do more of these. So, but here it was like actual personal chemistry happens where you are actually talking to someone and you're like, so tell me about your hobbies or your kids or whatever. Yeah.
And you did that interaction because it was planned?
No. So whenever we have these online planned meetings where you're supposed to sit there and talk to someone, that is kind of awkward, but also it works. Like when you're done, you're happy that you met someone and know more about them. But at this company offsite, as they call them, where we were all together in the same place, we had a lot more. Also, the organizers did a pretty good job of like assigning seats at our dinner table. So like we were all mixed up with people that we hadn't been with before, which was like when they tell you have to sit with these people, you're like, oh, tell me what to do, whatever, man. But also, you get to meet people that you engage with people that you haven't met before, and it's great
and then
because
let the magic happen.
Right, and the magic happens, and then like now I have friendships with people that are on other corners of the company. Like,
so let me ask a question. As you're told with whom to sit,
yes.
Why are you sitting there? Are you doing they're hearing a lecture? Are you interacting?
No. This was at when we were going to sit for dinner.
For dinner,
yeah.
So and where was dinner at the place?
No, at restaurants nearby.
Well, I need to know. Come on, tell me about the food, man.
I had the sea bass, but also the Croatian food comes with like interesting salads with like veggies and octopus and things. Oftentimes I was seated with vegetarians, so they like had their own. Their own service where like they would put stuff out on the table that was the Croatian appetizer platter is pretty similar to the Spanish one. There's like really thinly sliced ham, prosciutto sort of stuff,
charcuterie
with olives and hummus and stuff like that.
Pita?
There was no pita.
What do you dip the hummus with? Veggies? No bread?
No, there was bread, but it was not.
And not unremarkable, apparently.
I mean, it was good bread.
Doesn't sound that good actually here, because it's usually bread is, to me, bread is memorable. So it's,
maybe I'm used to a higher standard of bread living here in Spain, and it was just like typical.
Well, there
good bread.
Now that's the answer I'm getting. The bread was okay, but not as good as what they serve in Spain. Unremarkable.
It was similar to what they serve in Spain. It wasn't. Oh my God, this bread is amazing. But
Do you want to give a shout out to the Spanish bread industry? Or you are. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, go go Spanish bread.
They're at least as mediocre as Croatia.
That, like I always say, you're at least as mediocre as Croatia is my slogan. Yes.
Oh Lord.
So that was cool, but you have done some
I went
adventures.
I went on a fishing trip. I believe I sent you some shots.
I saw a lot of ugly ass fish.
I get these yeah, I know. I get these memory clips that Google sends me, 5 years ago.
Too.
And when it hits October, it's all the old fishing trips. And except in one set a couple of years ago, it seemed so weird to me because, like this trip, I didn't have a beard. All I had was my mustaches. And I don't remember not having a beard for so long, and here it was, same trip, just like 2 years ago. But then, with that in mind, it could have been pictures taken this year, given the same river, almost virtually the same fish. But we were the most memorable time I had was there's a guy in our group who is he's kind of a character. And he's a man's man. He likes to always, catch the most fish and the biggest fish.
You mean like Arnold Palmer? Arnold Palmer. Sorry.
Like Arnold Palmer's schlong.
Yes, we'll get there in the politics session.
For example.
Anyway, continue.
But
man's man.
But let's think of this: is that here you are with an interesting planting of a seed for a story that we'll be talking about. And for the first time in anyone's history in this United States, you want to talk about a successful political story that includes the penis of one of the world's best golfers. It's a political story. Not a scandal.
No.
A normal scandal. Somebody misspoke.
No.
Some actor or some some official would know.
It's an abnormally large scandal.
Yeah. It's a scandal so big that when I look at it, I say, "Whoo, boy, I can't believe it. That's incredible."
Oh my
God. Holy shit. It's like you need a little cart so that thing doesn't get scratched on the floor. We'll make a little tiny cart out of it.
It's like he needs a caddy.
Yeah, he needs a penis caddy. Hey, there's money in that.
The
family would go along with it.
That's the title of the episode.
The family would go along with it.
Penis caddy.
Why not make money off what the former president of the United States said about Daddy Schlong? Or you could. There's a song there too, Daddy Schlong song.
Schlong song
that the kids could do. Christmas tune, timely.
Yes.
Right. Oh, I've been waiting 364 days. It feels so long. And now it's coming. It's finally coming. Arnold Palmer's longish schlong.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. B.B. King could do that now. He's
something about an eagle or a bogey.
The eagle flies on Friday.
Anyway, you were talking about fishing, I think.
Oh. So there I am in the spot that's my spot, because on the first day that we fished, I found this spot at the end of a drift where it funneled down against the bank between me and the bank. It was a bit of a deep funnel, river flowing left downstream. And just to the left of that spot is a big bush and some logs in the water, which further creates not only a funnel effect because of the debris in the water and the water flow, it also is a wonderful hiding place in the water underneath and in between those branches for big fish. And so it was kind of my spot because on the first day, I hooked like 15 fish in between dawn at 7 a.m., in the water. We got to the site at 5.
Wow.
So that you could sit in front of your spot and no other fishermen would come. We built little stone chairs for ourselves. And
it's all about getting up so early to claim your spot.
4 o'clock, up at 4.
Jesus.
But anyway, I stood in my spot and I started getting fish right away. It was a great day, and we fished from 7 o'clock to no later than just afternoon. We wow, this was great. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'll fish tomorrow. Plus, I had a rough ankle. I talked about that. But I had new boots and actually, I had little studs installed in the bottom of my boots after first day on the river because it was slippery.
Were your boots?
But anyway, that's not my point. Here I am.
Were your boots made for walking?
My boots were made for wading. These boots are made for wading. Just you wait and see. One of these days, these boots are gonna wade all over me.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. Nancy Sinatra did a little cameo on The Sopranos. So many years ago, of course.
Sure.
And at the time when I was watching a rerun just this past year, I couldn't believe how old she was then and how old she looked then. And it never struck me that Nancy Sinatra was 10 years older than me, which would put her in her 80s now.
Wow.
That's the thing about being 70, right?
Yeah, right.
If you got people that, he's at least 20 years older. I mean, it's not like you're 30. You're talking about a 50-year-old. You're at least 20 years old. He's 90.
You know who just turned 60?
Anyway, the fish. So I'm in my spot, and it's like one of the last days there. I'm up early. He comes later. I get my primo spot. He comes in next to me. And as soon as dawn struck, I started catching fish. And in fact, in the same amount of time as the great first day, I caught twice as many fish. I had sometimes 2 and 3 fish in 3 drifts. Fish on, jumping, off,
nice.
Trying to work them, whatever. Rick, next to me, who likes to A, catch the most fish, B, catch the biggest fish, C, talk about catching A, the most fish, and B, the biggest fish. He is not catching fish like me. He's had a few. In fact, he landed one, which I did one that day out of 30.
Right.
But he wouldn't get out of my way. I had a fish going upstream, and when you yell fish on, coming up, fishermen grab their line and they get ready. They back up a little bit and they see where you are and they pay attention.
Right.
They know it won't be long. You're either going to get the fish or you're not, and you just get out of the way. Well, he wouldn't move. The guy was,
God damn it, Rick.
And I say, Rick, fish coming up. And he kind of looked at me, and it was obvious he heard me. He was just completely ignoring me. And what's more, with him just standing there, he had his pole out into the river with my line on his pole. And the first time I said, Rick, coming up, blah, blah, blah. The second to Rick, coming up.
What the fuck, Rick?
And I finally said, Rick, get the fuck out of my way. My fucking line is on your pole.
That's what
I yelled it, just like that.
Yep.
And a big sigh, and he kind of backs off. So I got the fish, and he said at one point, he said, you should be fishing that over me. but his pole was sticking out. So over him would be literally a 14-foot endeavor. 14 feet of getting over.
Okay.
You know, and instead of just doing what protocol. So as I'm trying to bring the fish in, he doesn't offer to net it, which at that point could have happened. My brother could have netted it, but he was nowhere to be found, and I ended up losing the fish. And just as I was losing the fish, he was acting like he was walking toward the shore. He said, "Oh, I was going to net that for you."
No, you
Where
weren't.
were you 7 minutes ago, except in my way?
Yeah.
What? So, a negative story about the trip. Anyway,
Okay.
it's just, but I told my brother.
But it's a metaphor for life.
I had my best day, which made it his worst day.
Right.
And that makes my best day even better.
Look, life is full of Ricks.
Yeah.
And
It's like
you just have to, yeah, except poorly spelled. And you just have to like deal with all the Ricks in life, man. Like,
yes.
so
The Ricks. Anyway, in one given day, there are 5 of us on this long part of this stream where there was room for 5 fishermen. And over the course of a typical day, we hooked amongst the 5 of us 100 fish.
wow.
And landed something south of, hooked 100 fish, hooked, and landed about 20 fish, kind of over the course of 6 days.
Pulling some numbers there.
And various percentages of fair hook fish of the ones we caught. Better than 50% were caught in a legal area, in the mouth, around the mouth. And so when I
you
just
catch
went
them,
to the,
not in the legal area, in the mouth, around the mouth, where is that catching happening? Just like on their bellies or something?
Where are you hooking them?
Yeah.
The tail and the back.
Ouch.
In the stomach.
Yeah.
And the protocol would be to break it off so that the fish doesn't get any hurter than having a hook in him or her. But I do bring them in at times and net them because I can, even though they're foul hooked. And they look just as good in the picture, of course.
That we got it. It's all about the
But anyway,
all about the
so
Instagram
I went up to
feed.
I did my first trip to the Pierre Marquette yesterday, and caught the tail end, no pun intended, of the salmon, where when I stood in knee-deep water, looking across 25 yards of river, 2 feet deep, right?
Yep.
Just a little stone's throw across the bank, longer than I can cast. But between me and the other bank are 25, 30 salmon, all in full view, darting in and out of the water, up and down. And where I stood, I could look upstream and downstream and see 3 other places that were just as full of fish. And I stayed where I was because I could land the fish on a muddy bank where you could back way up and pull the fish out of the water, because my little net, which is good for a lake trout, I mean, my net's this big. It's,
So you're standing in a river, you see a bunch of fish, and there's lots of fish, and your goal is to catch them, pull them out of the water, and put them back in the water.
Yes.
And it's just, shut up, cat.
It's a sport.
Yeah, I guess it's no dumber than any other sport. Like getting a little white ball in a hole.
It's only dumb if you don't appreciate adrenaline. That's all.
Well, yeah. I
If like you've been drained of all blood from your body and all mucus from your sinuses. You've been evacuated if you don't understand this.
No. Like I get, I don't know, the fact that you can see them and you're gonna take them out and put them right back in where you can see them.
And so know this, that out of every 100 you
is the weird
hook,
bit. Yeah,
you're only going to land 20. If you're going to land a fish, number one, you want it to be fair hooked in the mouth. And number two, once it is, your chances of bringing in that fish are multiplied tremendously because they can get hooked in the bone. However, the teeth will often cut the line when the fish is fighting. But you have a fish in the head, in the mouth area, when you can feel the fish shaking, looking towards you, and shaking his or her head vigorously to escape. At that point, they realize that won't work, so they dive in the water and they take off upstream. Sometimes, if you're unlucky, getting into a current, which means, now the fish is going and the current's going, and if they get in the wrong current, they take all your line out. And after so many yards, my yellow fly line has a white line. It's called batting. And once you get there, you're almost out of line. So you tug on it and you break them off. But anyway, I was up at the PM and there were that kind of salmon. I didn't want to catch salmon. I wanted to catch other fish. I landed a nice little brown trout and had another brown on and didn't land that guy. Hooked one steelhead that was so red, we call them a fire engine when they're that red.
Okay.
And so notable in the water that among all these black salmon, the male salmon, the kings are black and the females are grayish or brown.
So
here's a red fish.
Is it like birds where the boys are pretty and the girls aren't?
No, I don't believe that's the case. I believe that the coloring is transgender.
Whoa. Did you ask the fish for their pronouns and stuff?
Well, I don't know how woke salmon are. These are rainbow trout, as you know, who, unlike some of their family,
for gay pride, rainbow trout seems
pretty. Absolutely, right, it works.
Yeah.
So some rainbow live in the river, and other rainbows say, you know what, I'm going to go explore. So they go downstream till they get to the lake.
Some rainbow.
They live in the lake until it's time to come home and spawn. Those differentiate a steelhead from a rainbow trout. It is the same exact fish with different living environments.
Interesting. Sort of.
There's a word for that. I want to say it's aldrominous. I don't know what it's called, but anyway. And so they live for years. And so when they're in that lake off and on for 2 years, for example, as this fish probably was, that deepening of red becomes more pronounced. It's amazing. I've got pictures, and also something called a double firehouse, which is two distinct red lines, one below, one above, instead of just one.
So, can we talk about anything other than fish, please?
No, so later,
Jesus Christ,
I went back and I hooked him again, and he jumped in the air so you could see daylight all around him. He spun head over tail, broke the line, landed in the water, and then, as if to spit in my face, jumped out of the water, full-born sky, meaning at the tail you could see blue, out of the water completely, went back in the water, swam upstream toward me, jumped out of the water again, every time with that bright red side flashing in the sun, as if to say, fuck you, Dennis. Fuck you. You didn't catch my ass.
Can we talk about, television or politics or sports or something? Like,
yeah, I saw a show about fishing the other day.
Jesus Christ.
It showed fishing up north here. I might have told you the story. Subtitle was "Watching Paint Dry."
Yes.
Again.
Uh-huh.
And
yeah.
Well, we could talk about some people I met. I met a fisherman who was fishing, and he told me one story I'd like to repeat to you. There was a rainbow. That was
Jesus Christ.
So, how about news stories? I saw one. A fisherman caught the biggest salmon in Alaska in history. So yeah, anything you want to talk about is fine.
Yes. There's one more episode of The Old Man, season 2.
I'm not caught up.
I'm
not caught up. I caught up with the Penguin instead because I've been traveling.
The Penguin.
And,
I tried with the Penguin,
games.
And very quickly it was just like, okay, this is comic book bullshit, and I was like, no, like it was okay for a little bit. Like, I don't know how much I watched, 20 minutes or whatever, but it was just like, nah, this is not for me.
Interesting. I loved it from the moment it came out. But I'm a comic book person. You must not be. No. I collected comic books.
So,
have you ever read a comic book, or are they all engineering journals and shit like that?
I don't think I've read a whole comic book all the way through. Nope. I've looked at the funnies
pictures
in the newspaper, but that's about it.
You don't read the
I read a whole Dilbert.
That
before.
Explains your total lack of humor. None.
Yeah,
it's sort of like a podcast we ought to call Dennis and the Log.
Dennis and the Log.
Or Dennis and the Stump. Speaking of stumps.
Stump speeches, yes.
We should go to the politics desk.
Yes, let's go. Is anything happening in 2 weeks?
It's right around the corner, and
because we have been neglecting this topic for a month now.
Well, their closing arguments are now in play, and they're spending whatever money they have left. Kamala, a tremendous amount of money, and Trump not that much. He's got Elon Musk, who just contributed another $70 million. Elon is now that's hard to believe.
I can't imagine that would have happened.
I can't imagine.
First time ever.
Now joking twice now, once in a church, that why would it matter?
I joke in churches all the time.
If Kamala Harris was assassinated. It doesn't matter. That's why nobody's tried it, because it doesn't matter. They would just replace one puppet with another puppet. It doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. That's why nobody's tried it.
I have not heard this particular corner.
Yes.
Wow.
He's opening for Trump. They're starting off with the hate speech. Let's talk about killing the black mixed race woman. Let's kill her. Let's talk about killing her, or why they want to kill her.
I remember when
what's the matter with you people?
I remember when he was like, when he was tweeting, it's weird that no one tries to assassinate her, and then like deleted it a little bit later. But yeah, that is a hilarious joke to make in a church.
And so the closing argument, okay, I'll give you an example of Harris's, in that there's a new ad coming out, just started yesterday, on the radio everywhere. And the ad is, Donald Trump will raise taxes and make your life worse. Kamala Harris effectively comes on and says, I'm for the American people. I will do housing. I will do this. I will do that. That's my plan. You want to know more? Go to the details. What's Donald Trump's plan? He's going to raise taxes. His tariff, which, as everyone knows, except him apparently, is always passed on from the country of manufacturing to the consumer.
Yep.
And so she goes through a litany of 5 different things. 20% tax on your food, 20% tax on your gasoline, 20, and very effective and adamant and clear. Trump, in the meantime, is in North Dakota at a live talk, like a forum, a live talk forum with the governor, North Dakota. Her name is Naomi, I think. And they start to do Q&A, and he takes a couple of questions. I don't even know what they were. He didn't like them. And he said, you know what we're going to do? Instead of doing this, we're going to enjoy some music. Would you like that?
That was amazing.
For the next 38 minutes.
40,
39, he dances and sways and often says to the governor, this is a good one, isn't it? Oh, don't you like this? And she's like with her eyes a little open saying, yeah. And then during all that, people were leaving.
Sure, of course.
That's his closing argument.
Yeah, exactly.
And John Kelly, Chief General John Kelly, his longest serving chief of staff, finally released through the New York Times a live interview where he talks about Trump's tyranny and the fact that he tried many times to do exactly what he's promising to do now about the enemy from within.
Indeed.
And Kelly is as clear as can be, and because it's the Times, it's very widespread. And so...
What a shit show. Like, literally everything.
And tied. Now, here's the relevance of the statistical significance when as you know, it's a minus or plus 3-point error in these typical kinds of things, which means that either or both could be as much as 3% off. So when somebody's ahead by 3 points, it's statistically irrelevant. When someone's ahead by 6, then it is statistically relevant because, or 7, I should say, because 6 could still be tied. You're wrong 3 plus, you're wrong 3 minus. I mean, if it's 3,
but
it's not the spread that's 3. It's each prediction is plus or minus 3.
Okay.
And so right now, but what you note is, well, given that, but which candidate is up 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? In other words, where is it leaning? What's the pattern? They've all pretty much went for Harris' way and then swayed back a minute and then went again. So in some of the states where now in Michigan, which is must-have, Pennsylvania must-have, last week we had Barack Obama introduced by Eminem, who, after Eminem introduced him, Barack used the words of one of Eminem's songs to talk about how nervous he was and his palms being sweaty. And when he was done saying it, he looked at everybody, laughed, and everybody was screaming, laughing, and he started to do the drums for 8th Street. Eminem's 8th Street
8 Mile
tune. Da 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 da.
Yep.
Da 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 da. And it was. And who are they trying to reach? White men. Trump has, and I quote here, a 60 to 40% margin on white men. He has
white men
a
are
26% improvement.
Yep.
In black men, going from a low of 15% to a current like 20%, 22%. It's a 26% improvement. And the speakers now are Barack, who said to at a black male gathering of one kind with all the black men, I mean, big spread, and said, "You're looking for excuses why not to vote for a woman." And the black men said, "Who the fuck are you to tell me why I'm doing what I'm doing? You're wrong. I'm voting for somebody else because I feel left out. You and your party have been promising me shit for all these years. It's no different than me." And they were pissed. Some.
They were pissed at
Barack
Obama
for talking down to them.
as opposed to
They were
fucking Trump.
Obama was wrong. Many of them said,
Yeah.
"How dare you think that
I agree.
the reason I'm not doing this because I'm sexist? Fuck you."
But
But what?
But Trump, like, the alternative is so.
Real men don't like dictators. That's a column that came out this morning. Real men don't like dictators. And the message was, you guys who don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, who you're coming up in the polls supporting Trump, think again before you vote for him. Think again. You don't want to vote for Harris, don't vote for Harris. Don't vote for Trump. Undecided is currently 6% in the typical battleground state. 6%. And a state's going to be won by 1 or 2%.
I mean, it's pretty exciting that you and I are in swing states. Like,
yeah,
where our vote actually fucking counts.
Much less in contention than Michigan and Pennsylvania. I believe it's going to be tough. And you know, the Trumpian lines. This is only one of several, all in the Trump era campaigns, where the truth doesn't matter, where one of the candidates can lie at will, and is often not called on it. Although the mainstream media repeats the story and then says it's been misproven. Well, what they're doing is they're communicating exactly what he said.
The mainstream media
that's what Trump said. And then they're not hearing that it's not true, because they think, of course you would say it's not true because you're in the swamp. You're NBC, you're ABC. So thanks for letting me know what he said. The only thing that you're wrong about is that it's not true. Of course it's true.
The media has a lot to answer for in the past decade. Like, it's so sick how, because what was it? There's a strategy that the right uses that started with it started like 20, 30 years ago, of like questioning the ref. Like whenever a decision is made, question the ref. And that forces, like, when you make that your policy to always like pressure the person making a decision about the issue, it forces the media to be like, oh, I don't want to anger this side, I'm gonna both sides this. And now we are where we fucking are, where
it's right, as if it's an argument,
where it's like remotely comparable what Kamala says versus what Donald says.
Well, and it's closing argument thing is interesting, because Trump is doubling down on his base and attracting a broader base, whereas there are thousands of more recently enrolled Republicans than there are Democrats. The Democrats have lost people by the tens of thousands, and the Republicans have gained. And so at this point, it's going to be who shows up. Now, there's already millions of votes cast. I voted a month ago. And so the explosion of mail-in ballots, while it is disclaimed that it helps one party or the other, because there is evidence that the voter turnout increase for mail-in voting is in both Republican and Democratic districts. It's noteworthy that historically it has always favored Democrats. The voting has always favored the Democrats, and we don't know. And it's good that we don't know, and it's good that we know what we don't know, and we're saying what we don't know. The polling since the disaster of 2016, is still with us, thank goodness. But the other serious thinking is, so what happens in the House and the Senate? And know that a liberal President Harris, with one of the chambers at least, very likely the Senate, the worst of the two to have trouble with, it very well could go Republican. And if that's the case, she's going to find it very, very difficult to get much done beyond the probably 3 or 4 things that there is some agreement.
Yes.
So is the political talk turning into the salmon talk? I mean,
No. Continue.
Because we could talk about television. I saw a program the other day.
No.
About politics.
Tell me more about the Senate, because.
Well, the Senate has these tight races. For example, John Tester in Montana, where the whole state is, truly.
I'm not hearing anything about the other races. All I hear is the.
Oh yeah. In fact, there's 5 spots, Ohio being one of them, but 5 different places where the projectionists, so to speak, the gurus are calling it. They say it's either a toss-up, leaning one way or the other, or more positive than that. I'm not sure what the term is.
Right.
Trending toward, looks like it will be. And they've just changed several of them from neutral to leaning Republican. And what's happening is that the base, Donald Trump's base, which is very energized to vote, in a state where the base outnumbers the non-base, and previously the base voted for policies in terms of how it affected them,
right,
which they do less and less once they become indoctrinated into the Trump world, and are encouraged to and must stop all discernment, stop all judgment, suspend all belief, forget about ethics and morals, forget about the truth, forget about the Constitution, forget about what we are about as a people. This is what's going to happen. People, the 6% undecided, are going to walk in that booth and they're going to say, I just can't fucking do it. I have daughters. I have sons who could be in the military, which Trump hates the military. The latest spat of commercials is targeting his remarks, beginning with John McCain. He wasn't a hero. I like heroes that don't get caught. after he spent years hanging from a wall in a prisoner of war in Vietnam. Years.
Yeah.
I like heroes that don't get caught. From that point forward, and the veterans are unable to get through to the MAGA supporters who are veterans. They can't get through. Why? Because they have suspended all discernment and belief and clarity around what's right or wrong. It doesn't matter.
Right.
He is Jesus Christ reincarnated.
Yes.
And if you don't believe me,
amen.
Listen to these churches that are MAGA churches and the prayers that they are saying about Trump prior to their services. It is chilling. These explain better than anybody could ever explain the question we have about MAGA loyalists. And it's like, our question is, what the fuck?
Yep.
How could that be? The answer is in these prayers. The answer is in these prayers. Ooh, you made me weary.
So,
young candidates, they do get weary. Wow.
We're not going to talk about McDonald's fries.
Yeah, did you see the clip?
Yeah, I've seen all the clips. Like,
God.
What a dope. It's just dopey after dopey. Like,
and Harris is doing interviews with freaking 60 Minutes. Trump backs out. Doing interviews with ABC. Trump gets backed out. She offers to do one on Fox. Now Trump won't do one on Fox. I mean, he's just hiding. And his handlers, she's saying in her speeches, why won't his handlers let him see us? Let me tell you why. In fact, let me play you a clip, she says. And up in the Megatron is a clip of Trump saying, clarifying that the enemy within are people he considers leftist Democrats.
Isn't it crazy that they've only ever met that one time? Like, I think that's
not
true.
Not to me so much. No, not to me so much.
I mean, I only met you that one time, but like, it was cool. Like, we embraced, but it was just like, so normally, whatever the fuck that means. Normally in the presidential campaign, it's this person is saying one thing and the other person is responding and arguing against that. Whereas here, the campaigns are totally in separate worlds. Totally, like, there's no call and response. There's no
stark contrast. It's
not about contrast so much as typically there would be like, oh, Dennis's campaign said this, and then Eric would be like, well, your campaign would be like, oh, Eric said this, and I would be like, no, Dennis said this, and
so
like back and forth. Whereas now,
let me tell you about this.
There's no
your point here. Your point here is well taken. This is what just happened.
The fuck,
Trump does this stuff, and Kamala Harris's campaign provides a link to the site that shows Trump not making any sense. And it says in the press release, if you want to hear a rambling, aged, mentally impaired candidate for the president of the United States who wants your vote, go here. That's what they're doing. And the Trump campaign will put out what he meant was, the point is, and they are doing that, but it is not discourse.
No.
It is not discourse. It's not a tennis back and forth. Those are grenades. It's a bomb here and then a bomb there. His are racist, misogynist. His are historically inaccurate.
Where's the tennis, man?
General John Kelly released New York Times interview, said, "Let me give you a quote from Trump. I need generals like Hitler's generals who will do what they're told." And John Kelly says he wasn't joking. He meant it.
Yeah.
He asked us to do stuff that Hitler's generals would have said yes to. And when I told him that one of those generals killed himself, he didn't know anything about the general, Romulus.
No.
Wasn't familiar with him or that. Does not know history.
Doesn't know history? What?
What?
So I wanted to go to Politics Corner, but now I'm super depressed. Can we go to
football?
What's the World Series doing?
I don't follow baseball, man. Tigers are out. I know that.
Okay.
They got
so
ran for a while.
What's up with the pigskin?
Well, pigskin's going great, man. Lions went to Minnesota Vikings undefeated 5-0. Faced them in a rowdy Vikings crowd, and after a stumbling first quarter, came back and won it.
A rowdy Vikings crowd.
Won it well. They're coming into a home game this week, and the home game is visiting Tennessee Titans, who've not done well this year. I believe they've won one, if any. They're coming into hostile territory. I look for Dan Campbell to play his starters in the first half and gain a 24-point lead, and then let some of the second-tier guys come in.
That's what I was going to say.
And the Lions will then be 6-1.
That's pretty
clear. In line to win the division. But there's some teams they have to get through to get to the Super Bowl. It includes who? Of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now what? Undefeated?
What?
6-0 at home
Chiefs.
And away.
Chiefs.
They haven't lost a game. There's a clip that if you're going to look at any clip of current football, find Patrick Mahomes' run for a touchdown where he faked throwing the ball 3 times to fake out the people trying to tackle him and spun and ended up going for I want to say it was a 16-yard touchdown. The whole time, holding the ball in his passing hand, not protecting the ball like a runner.
No.
Faking, spinning, faking, and knew that when he ran the route that he was running, where his pocket ended, where it was no longer that he could pass. And by then, he spun into the end zone. He's a magician.
It's almost like politics.
How so?
You fake and then end up in the end zone and you win.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So we, Nikki and I took a little trip to the beach the other day and stopped a little town called Hartford, Michigan, halfway between here and the coast, and a little Mexican restaurant that we've stopped at before. And we had a great meal, authentic Mexican food. Traveled on and went to one of our favorite breweries and sat in the sun.
Nice.
Had a few beers, listened to music, and then drove to a new beach we found in Bridgman, Michigan, where unlike every other beach in that part of the state where you have to walk down 20 or 30 steps to get from where you can park to where you have to get to the beach because it's very cliffy.
Cliffy, yep.
This has entrance beach right at the parking lot. Brought in a cooler. Had to be mindful of the patrolman on the fucking 4-wheeler who patrolled up and down the beach to make sure that people were doing what we were doing, which is drinking.
Dang police.
Couple of beers on the beach. I emptied a a seltzer can of seltzer and filled it full of beer.
You're such a
scuffalo. I gave my wife a coffee cup, full of beer, and I had a big Saki zipper cooler that was big enough for me to put the receptacle into the cooler and pour the beer without ever bringing it out of the cooler. And so a fine time was had. I ended up laying down in the sand and no towel or blanket or anything, and used my man bag for a pillow and went to sleep.
Man bag. So
in the sun.
So so to summarize, you avoided the police such that you could get drunk and sleep on the beach.
Yes.
Nailed it.
In summary.
Nice.
In summer, yeah.
Hey,
perfect day.
That's the perfect day.
Lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely
Good
day.
lyrics.
Lovely day. Bill Withers.
Well,
I wake up in the morning, love. I see the smile upon your face.
Okay. Because Bill has some good lyrics.
So we had a gig since we've been on air. We did our October 19th gig, The Mojo Ride.
Yes, nice.
Fine time was had by all. I've heard 6 or 8 recordings of it. They all need work, as far as I can tell. But well received, and it was sold out. Yeah.
And
sold out, meaning that every table inside that can be reserved was reserved in advance of the show.
Nice.
And the only place newbies could come in, except for our band leader and expert guitarist, J-Dog. His family came in with a group of 9, and they hadn't reserved anything. And so I hooked up the final 2 6-tops in the second half of the restaurant, which were the last tables left.
Yep.
And so we played to an absolute full crowd.
Nice.
It was great to have that.
Well done.
And they were appreciative. You know, we had fun. We had a lot of fun playing, more fun than we've ever had. So I'm enjoying it more.
Well done.
As we get better, I enjoy it more.
It turns out being good is good. I've heard. From other people, I don't know.
You perform their stress. My view. I'm not an effortless performer.
Wow. And yet here we are.
Right, but
with very little effort.
So little, because you do so
little
well.
effort.
There's a reason we refer to you as the star.
So little effort.
So I finished Lonesome Dove for the 3rd time.
Yes.
Larry McMurtry's Western, which, as they say, if you only read one Western in your life, read this one. But here's a new forward in it because it was reintroduced before he died. And it said, you know, when I write, I never know where my book's going to be. I sit at the typewriter and I kind of doodle. And I write a few things down, and I wonder if what I write, what comes to me, is of any interest to me, that I can develop it, and sometimes I can or I can. And one day I sat down at my typewriter and I typed in, when Augustus walked out on the porch, he noted that the blue pigs were eating a snake and making a mess of it. I wrote that down, and it was the beginning, and then I added something about his partner, who was argumentative, and for years I didn't do anything besides that. And one day I was driving through Texas, and I saw an abandoned bus by a schoolhouse, and it said the Lonesome Dove Community Church, and he had a title. And he went home after that
and wrote the rest of the book.
That view, and he wrote an 800-page novel. He said, this is the quote, "Sometimes a title can make all the difference in the world." I went home and I wrote it.
Yeah.
800 pages till it was done.
there are people like that can just, with the idea, continue the rest of it. That's wild.
Well, the humanity in McMurtry, which makes his work just so ultra fascinating, is not only the dialogue, which is so rough and funny, and it can be hilarious, and his characterization through their communication with each other is the story of his work.
Right.
But he also examines the feelings of his characters, and in the case of Lorena or Lori, who is the whore in Lonesome Dove, who all the men fall in love with, who is kidnapped by the worst Indian in decades,
Spoilers.
named Blue Duck, and she's abused, and she's saved by McCrae, by Augustus, and she ends up married in a particularly interesting way, but she loses 2 children, and Clara is the one who loses 2 children. But when McMurtry describes the loss of those children, as he does in like 3 pages of just the most heart-rendering truth of the depth of despair at losing a child, you just wonder, how the fuck does he know that? Does he go there? And he does it in a woman's voice, in a woman's persona.
Well,
and there's never any question as to who is speaking her thoughts in terms of who's thinking. It's a miracle, which is why I just read it. I've read, in fact, his entire 4-book, what would that be called? Quartet?
Quadrilogy.
Or maybe it's a quintilogy.
No,
might be a
that's
quintilogy. 5. Yes, I know. I think it may be 5. But anyway.
Well.
So now I'm, anyway, that's been my literary escape.
I had some thoughts, but then I lost them.
You lost them? The stump moves at lightning speed.
The stump got stumped.
Wait a minute, slow down. I can't follow what you're saying. Oh, wait a minute, man. The glare on my screen made it look like when you move forward that your head and neck separated from your body, because your chair and your coat and shirt are all the same color on the screen. So it looks like your head can be disembodied. There you go. Cool, man.
Cool. So
do it again. Do it again.
Yeah, and there's another thing that happened this week, but I forgot.
Well, cool.
Cool, man. There's one more episode of The Old Man. It's bordering on. I mean, I said this last season. It's bordering on a little too conspiracy-ish. Where that's what always bothered me from other TV shows
today's day and age.
Oh, we caught the guy that is in charge of this, but then the guy's like, oh well, you'll never catch my real boss, and then they just go on and on with that, and that sort of writing is so weak.
Well, I got to catch up.
So,
I don't think
we're getting dangerously close to that, but
I'm at number 4. What are there, 7?
What?
7 episodes?
I can't hear you anymore.
7 episodes?
Can't hear you anymore.
7 episodes?
Nope.
That's on your end.
Okay, well.
Huh? What? Nothing?
Dennis is gone. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Okay, well, did you unplug your mic or something? Time to go. Okay. Dennis says it's time to go. He loves each and every one of you, and he adores your genitals. Yes. Yes. He loves each and every one of you. Okay, then. I'm going to cut this off right here because he is gone. Okay, that was a weird end to episode number 232. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/232. You can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. Holy cow, we are running headlong into this election, and I, for one, am slightly terrified. So hopefully, we'll see you next week.